Hey guys, if you're planning to take the new digital SAT, specifically if you're looking for problems as it relates to the math portion and understanding systems of two linear equations and two variables, well, make sure you stick around because we're going to go over some problems. And just before we get started, please note the disclaimer listed above and stick around because we're going to review those problems together. Okay, so when we talk about linear equations, we're talking about the idea that you have two variables. You not just are solving for x, but you also are solving for y. And you usually see it in the form ax plus by equals c, which seems a little bit complicated when it comes to reviewing problems, but that's okay. We're going to try to tackle some typical problems that you would see on the exam. So take a moment and read this equation, well, specifically this problem, which is a generic type of problem that you could see on the new digital SAT. So in this problem, it says in the given systems of equations, C and D are constants. They let you know that the graph of these equations in the xy plane intersect at the point 3, 2. What is the value of C? So the first thing you want to note in this problem is they give you four potential answers, and we're going to try to solve this problem together. But if you feel confident in solving this problem yourself, make sure to pause the video and try to attempt to solve it yourself and then unpause once you're done. Okay, now that you're done reviewing this problem, let's try to take a look at the question itself. So they let you know that they're comparing two equations. And what that means for you is you're trying to relate the two equations because they intersect at one specific point, 3, 2, which is your x and your y, essentially, which is important because they're going to be the same for both of these equations. Now, if you remember in systems of equation, there is a previous section which it talks about substitution and elimination or using Desmos to help you solve. And in this case, it might be a little bit difficult to utilize Desmos because you don't just have two variables. Essentially, you have C, X, D, and Y. So this means that we have to change the problem in some way. Before we get started reviewing the actual problem, let's try to see if you got the answer, if you did solve the problem. And the correct answer is -8. Now let's tackle how we got that answer together. So the first thing that we want to do is plug in the 3, 2 for the x and the y value such that you are literally replacing your x coordinate and your y coordinate to eliminate any confusion that's there. So essentially you'll have 3c plus 2d equals 66. And all we did is replace both x and y. Now, if you notice, we switched the x and the c and the y and the d. That's okay. Typically, you have the number in front of the variable, so we wanted to keep it that way. And then you have the second equation, which is here. And what you're also going to do is you're going to plug in 3 and 2 for that equation as well, because remember, they intersect at that point. So essentially, if we were to graph this in some way, they intersect or share that point, which is why we're plugging that in. So we're going to do the same for that second equation. And when we do that, we're going to get 8 times 3, which is 24c, plus we have 4dy, which means that we have to plug in 2. So 2 times 4 is going to give you 8. Then we bring down the variable d equals 168. Now, because we have two equations here, we can either use substitution or elimination. In this case, we're going to multiply this first equation by 4 because that way we can just eliminate. And when we do so, we are going to go ahead and distribute the 4 to then give us 12c plus 8d equals 66 times 4, which is 264. And the way that I solve that is by distributing this 4 to each one of the variables. Now, because I decided to use elimination, I can go ahead and subtract to get rid of that D there. And essentially what will happen is you subtract 24c minus 12c, that gives you 12c equals 168 minus 264. That's going to give you negative 96. And then you divide both sides by 12, and then c equals negative 8. I'm going to go back to my problem to ensure that I'm solving what it's being asked for, which it says the value of c. So now I can verify that I did solve for c, which I got negative 8, which is how I got this answer. So I always try to double check and triple check that I'm solving what I'm looking for, just so I can potentially make sure that I'm not solving for c accidentally instead of d, or vice versa. Okay, let's try another problem, but this time you're going to try it by yourself for a second. So here is a problem. Take a moment, pause the video, and unpause once completed, and let's see if you got the right answer. Okay, now that you're done reviewing this question, you can see the answer if it matches or aligns with what you got. The correct answer is 1. How did we get this? Well, essentially we have two equations just like before. We have 3x plus 10 equals y. And I'm going to go ahead and convert that first equation into y equals mx plus b, just because if you notice here, the second equation also lines up that way. So I'm just going to rewrite it. So y equals 3x plus 10. And I'm going to take that second equation and bring it down, and y equals negative x minus 4. Okay, so now because I know the slope of the first equation is 3, we now know that the second equation slope is also negative 1. So because they have a slope that is different, we know that it's going to intersect at least by 1 point. The reason why is this is a tricky problem. You don't actually have to do any straightforward math, essentially, because you know that if it has the same exact slope, like for example, if the value of this equation is 3 and the value of this second equation is 3, you know that it would be parallel and would never intersect, and therefore the proper answer would be A. Now, if they have opposite reciprocals, so for example, if this first equation's slope was 3 and then the second equation was negative 1 over 3, we know that they would be perpendicular and also intersect at 1 point. Because they have two slopes that are different, we can assume that they're going to intersect at some point. So you're going to say it's 1 point essentially. You could also solve this by plugging it into Desmos and seeing where it intersects, and you'll see that it intersects at 1 point. So that's another way that you can solve as well. So just because it's perpendicular and just because it's parallel, that doesn't immediately negate what if you have slopes that are completely different. Well, if they're completely different, they're not going to be parallel, correct? So they're going to have to intersect at 1 point. Now, if they were the same exact slope and the same exact y-intercept, essentially, we have the same exact line. So in that case, it would be infinitely many solutions. So if it's the same slope and the same b, essentially it'd be infinitely many solutions. So because of this, we can say that the best answer choice is B, because they're just asking for how many times they intersect or how many times they cross each other, and we know that's 1. So I hope that helps clear up some ways that you could solve some confusing problems. Make sure that you subscribe to our videos for future SAT or digital SAT related or future bio related problems and questions that you could see for exams in the future. Hey, Geeking Out on STEM family, guess what? We want you to hit that subscribe button. Why? Because we'll be producing more content just like this for the AP Biology exam and the new digital SAT exam. By subscribing, you'll be getting exclusive up-to-date tips, tricks, and secrets for both exams. Also, if you're a parent, a teacher, a homeschool instructor, or a student, you might be looking for affordable and exclusive digital products to help improve multiple choice questions, free response questions, or question bank questions related to both the digital SAT or AP biology exam. We have them here. Make sure to check out our link tree in our bio for curated resources that you won't find anywhere else. These unique resources are designed to help you raise your score. By hitting the subscribe button, the more subscribers we get, by the way, the more videos we can make. So make sure to join our family to ensure that you get a perfect score for both exams.